I keep writing down.
I like that you're studying. You got it.
Oh my God. It's like this, it's really, well, the problem is there's not a lot of like concrete information yet, other than like the stuff that's been in the headlines. But
Yeah.
we'll see what questions come in.
Who knows what questions are going to come? They might be stuff that's like the big, like what's happening with the world, or they might just be smaller things that people are curious about, their own random stuff that would apply anytime. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to let all these folks in. So everyone will be muted. And then when we get to like full open Q&A, I'll unmute people as they want to ask you stuff. And then I'll just be like shooting you stuff through the chat too. So
Perfect.
You ready? Let's do it. Love it. Hi, people. Just so everybody knows, you're all muted, but I will unmute you when it comes to Q&A time. I'm not trying to be crazy, but I'm just trying to,
keep it organized.
Keep it as organized as humanly possible, which for me is like a low bar. Like very low bar.
I love the videos. Turn on the videos, everyone. That's so
yeah. Put your videos on. People are looking cute today. People must have been like me. Like last week, it was like every day was struggle bus, and this week I'm like, maybe I'll try.
This is the cutest I've looked into like 2.5 weeks. Like I don't think I've put on.
Yeah, I have lipstick on today. This is a big deal. I don't know what I'm gonna do though after this. Like, go take a shower.
I may or may not have sweatpants on.
Underneath. That's good. That's how it's supposed to be. Hey, Megan, can I ask you to let people in as we get this party started? Do I need to do anything? I need to make you a co-host. Okay, hold on one moment, please. Make co-host. There we go. You're the best. Okay, well, I'm just gonna get this party started. And first, let me just say, Priya, thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure there's like 10 billion people asking you for your expertise in this craziness. So thank you, for real.
Of course, my pleasure. Love RebelleCon.
Love you. So there are, actually looking at this list, there's some people that know you because they saw you speak at RebelleCon, but there may be some people who don't know you specifically or about your company. So would you do like a quick intro of you and of Stash Wealth so people know what we're working with here?
Yeah, quick, super quick. In a nutshell, I'm the founder and CEO of a company called management firm for a subsect of the millennial generation that we refer to as Henrys, high earners, not rich yet. So basically 20-somethings and 30-somethings who make good money and just want to keep their lifestyle, boozy brunch, avocado toast, rosé, frosé, although we're not doing much of that right now, but they also want to get their financial shit together so that they can move on to bigger financial goals, short-term goals like taking a trip or going to their friend's bachelorette party, and more mid and longer-term goals like buying a home and starting a family and merging finances with their significant other. Longer term being retirement. We all want to be on a beach someday sipping a margarita. So planning for all those things. That's Stash Wealth. And yeah, we've been around about 7 years.
So cool. I would love to be on a beach drinking a margarita right now. That would be just lovely.
I've been drinking a lot of Corona lately, which I feel is, the most ironic thing to do, but
no, I really think their brand visibility, it's like a weird, bizarro thing. I'd be really curious to see what this does to their sales.
I was on social media trying to see if they were doing anything around this. It's sad. It would be such a hard thing to navigate. I'm sure their lawyers don't want to touch it.
But they probably don't have to, like literally.
Right. Also true.
Yeah. So anyway, I digress. I think, the conversation that I wanted to have with you today, I think there's a couple of things.
We're getting some intel.
What?
We're getting some intel in the chat.
Corona sales have decreased. Oh, thank you, Nadia, for having the update. That is a trusted source. She doesn't share information that's not accurate. Good to know. Oh yeah, and feel free to put stuff in the chat, you guys, and now I will remember to look at it. Okay, so when we had our little like pre-conversation, I said there's kind of like two camps that I think that are going to be on this call. So there's, a small subset of our community that are business owners or are really significantly affected financially by what's going on right now. And they're, myself included, kind of looking for what should I do, what should I not do, as like general finance tips and reactions. And then the other camp are women who are still employed, who are really lucky to be financially secure right now and want to know what they should be doing to support the community and to keep the economy going as best they can. So I think, before we dive like super into that, knowing that that's our goal, I would love for you to share some of your just overall, not like tips, but just like the way that you look at certain financial decisions. Like I know you have a very specific perspective on budgeting. I know you have very specific advice on how people should be using their credit cards. Can we kind of start there and then get into like the nitty gritty of what's going on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the coolest things about working with young professionals in their 20s and 30s is a lot of the standard financial advice and guidance that you hear from talking heads, whether it's on TV or just like stuff that comes out of the traditional channels, is we get to talk to millennials about how getting your financial shit together affords you and allows you more. And it feels like in general, the personal finance world or the financial services industry is all about smart money means you're doing less, you're conserving, you're saving, you're budgeting, you're not, enjoying that latte every single day. And Stash Wealth just takes a totally different approach because when you're working with people younger, when you get your financial shit together sooner rather than later, you can actually do more and compromise less, which I think is what we're all about. We are a generation that, we're an Instagram generation, and that means we're constantly bombarded with images of people living their best life, friends, and we want to do that as well. And I think that's really where our philosophy stems from. It stems from a place where we're able to talk about how to afford your best life and how to continue doing more. And yes, sure, be on track for retirement. But that's almost going to happen by default if you get your financial shit together sooner rather than later. So talking to some specifics, I'll start with budgeting. I'm really glad that you talk about that. You remember that. Clearly it stuck out at RebelleCon because it's true. I think most people, they think of personal finance and they immediately think of budgeting and they immediately think like, forget it, I'll do it later. I don't want to compromise and no one should have to. I don't think budgeting is about compromising. So we've taken the conversation and flipped it on its head. And instead of talking about budgeting, we talk about something we call reverse budgeting, which is in essence a way to plan for and save for the things you want to accomplish so that, and put it on autopilot. So whatever's left in your checking account, you can blow guilt-free. And that's really what we want. Nobody really wants to micromanage their financial life. What we want is to enjoy our money and not really have to think twice when we want to buy something. So if you've sort of planned for your goals and then whatever's left, you never have to ask yourself, like, can I afford this? Should I really do this? Should I take that trip? Should I buy those shoes? I love shoes. If the money is there, the answer is yes. And I think that's a really, really powerful way to think about managing your money. When it comes to credit cards, one of the really interesting things out there is that conventional wisdom has sort of taught us that using credit cards is reckless and irresponsible and very scary. And so many millennials are actually avoiding using credit cards, which is detrimental to their overall financial health, specifically from a credit score standpoint. We advise clients to never, ever, ever, ever use a debit card, which is very fascinating.
People probably freak out when you say that.
Yeah. There was a lot of, I think I might have talked about this, but we did an article for Refinery 29, and there were a number of haters in the comments for that when we were telling them, don't use your debit card, use a credit card. Now, we weren't saying spend more money than you have. We weren't saying spend more money than you can pay off at the end of the month when your credit card statement comes due. We were just saying use a credit card as the payment vehicle instead of a debit card, and then pay the bill off the way you would instead of your debit card, which debits daily. your credit card debits once a month when you pay the bill off in full, or more often if you pay the credit card off more often. But the bottom line is, by using a credit card, you're hacking rewards points and you're really building that credit score, which allows you to do more interesting things with your finances down the road.
So I have some personal testimonials that I will share based on literally you being at RebelleCon. So two things happened. One, I created an account, a new savings account, and we titled it Barcelona. And my husband and I decided when he paid off his truck, we would still keep making his truck payments into Barcelona so that we would go on our 10-year wedding anniversary trip to Barcelona. Because we like never travel because we hate spending like big amounts of money on anything. Like I'll like dabble and spend like $5 every single day, but like to spend like $100 on something is like a major decision for me. So we have over $3,000 in our Barcelona account because you're never going to take money out of your Barcelona account. Like it's like very emotional. However, it might be changed to a COVID-19 account here pretty soon. But who cares? Like it's still there, right?
Right. That's an incredible tip, and one that's beautiful that you brought that one up, because I think what it it shows is that personal finance doesn't have to be rocket science. Something as simple as opening up an online high yield savings account and nicknaming it. Like you said, if it says Barcelona, you're not going to touch it for anything else. And I think that's what most people end up finding why saving doesn't work for them, is because they use a general savings account. And if your money's just all stashed in this one general savings account, it's very easy to pull money from that savings account, move it right back to your checking account and use it to pay bills. But if it says Barcelona, you're like, yeah, fuck, I don't want to steal from my Barcelona trip. And of course, it's coming in handy for you because now it's a bit of a COVID-19 emergency fund.
Yeah. The other thing that you just touched on it when you were talking about credit cards, I ended up opening a new credit card that had incredible cashback reward options and switched all of my debit card payments to that. And then I pay it off every month. And like literally I opened a new one in January of this year and already have $230 in cashback points, which is like literally free money. Like,
I'm so impressed.
Oh no, I follow the rules. I follow directions very seriously. I'm still bad at spending money, but I like all the tricks. And I was like talking to, we had a workshop. One of our team members is a realtor, and she was talking about just what's going on with the housing market and people buying houses right now. And I was sharing that my credit score is freaking bananas amazing. It was over 800 until I opened this credit card, and now I'm like having an existential crisis. But that's why my credit card is so high, because I spend all of my money on a credit card and then pay it off every month.
Yeah, you treat your credit card as if it is a debit card that debits once a month when you pay the bill off in full. Yeah. When you say you're bad at spending money, even that concept is not a healthy concept, because if you're saving automatically, then you can be as bad with the rest of your money as you want, and it isn't detrimental to the rest of your goals. It's a concept we refer to as being responsibly reckless.
I am definitely that in all aspects of my life. I think.
Great. You should be responsibly reckless. That's what it means to have your financial shit together. You get to be.
I don't know if my husband would agree that I have my financial shit together, but we're getting there. Okay, any other hacks that we can share? Like, I love the idea of like changing a savings account. I love the idea of using cashback credit cards. Any other like little changes that we can make into our money behavior that you think would be helpful?
I'll throw out one that I think is relevant in current times, and in general, that I think a lot of people don't realize about, and it's about investing, because investing is sort of this hot button topic, especially for our generation. The sort of buzzword is, I want to make my money work harder for me. The hack with regards to investing, and we'll probably flesh this out a little bit more, I think, in today's conversation, is the behavior to change. Do not monitor your investment account, which sounds crazy. It's like, what are you telling me to ignore it? So I'll give you this interesting study that was done a couple years ago. Fidelity, big firm out there, has all different types of accounts, right? At Fidelity, you can, your company may have their 401k through it. You can also just open up a personal retirement account or an investment account, brokerage account. And so Fidelity did this study, and they basically looked across the entire company at all the different types of individual accounts that they have. And they were trying to see which accounts had the best investment performance. And they found that your 401ks tended to have the best investment performance. So they dug a little deeper to figure out, like, why is it the 401k? And they came to find out that most people forget their password to their 401k. And what's so interesting about that is by simply like forgetting that you have this account, it had the best performance. Tinkering with your investments is one of the fastest ways to destroy investment performance. And that's for a number of reasons, mostly psychological and emotional. But the behavior to change was, and like I said, why it's most relevant right now is because right now is when people feel the need to do something with their investments. Markets are down and it's scary and people are panicking. And the best advice is to ignore the investment account. You cannot time the market. Even if you sold when it was up high, you may not be able to time getting back in at the bottom. And so simply just riding out the ups and downs leads to better investment performance over time, as reckless as that sounds.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think definitely you're speaking to one of the other questions I had down the line, and we can kind of go in that direction. I think, right, a lot of people are in the like, okay, what do I do mode. I mean, I know most of the people on this call are like problem solver type of folks that like to like take action and like do something. But I've heard this through other places that don't touch your retirement accounts basically is the rule. Is there anything else that we should just not be doing with our money right
now? So definitely the selling of the investments. One thing I would say is people in our generation, I think because our parents and our grandparents told us to do this, we think of like CDs as a good place to put our money. But CDs are not a good place for a millennial to put their money, especially with interest rates being as low as they are. It's better to just keep your money sitting at savings where it's more liquid. So it's a high yield savings account, but don't lock your money up in a CD. Also, sort of tangential to this, I guess, would be don't put any money into the market. Don't invest any money that you think you're going to need to use in the next 2 years. So investing is not a tool to make your money grow overnight. It's a tool to make your money grow over time. It's not gambling. It's not go to Vegas. It's not like flip, 10,000 into 20,000 overnight. That's gambling. So what I would say is you have to think about investing as a tool, as a tool for growing your money over time, towards mid and long-term financial goals. So don't lock up any money by buying. I mean, right now, the analogy we use is like when the markets are down, when they're on sale the way they are now, it's like going to J. Crew when everything's on sale. Your money goes further and goes a lot further for you, like I said. So right now, certainly if you have extra cash, if you're fortunate enough to have extra cash sitting on the sidelines that you won't need to use in the next 2 years, you can certainly put it into the market. Yeah.
Okay. So a question from the chat. What are your thoughts on Betterment and Ellevest? Do you overall feel like they're good ways to invest money, and would you keep putting money into them during this time?
Great question. So yeah, Betterment, Wealthfront, Ellevest, Personal Capital. What we love about these robo-advisors, so first of all, these are robo-advisors. There are platforms that you can sign up for an account, an investment account, a retirement account. And what we love about them is the investment philosophy lines up very similarly to how we think it's stash wealth, which is rather than just putting money and investing in some random stocks because you think they're going to do well, they actually have you invested based on your goals. So you might say, I think I want this money because I think I want to buy a home in the next like 5 to 7 years. I want to buy a vacation home. So I want to put this money to work so that it's working for me until I go to need it for the down payment. They pick your investment mix based on the time horizon of your goal. It's called goals-based investing. It's what we do as well. And that is certainly a departure from standard Wall Street investing, which is all about like chasing returns. Like the S&P's up this much. I want to be up more than the S&P. Well, what if you don't need to be up as much as the S&P to be on track for your goals? Then, I mean, ideally what we're talking about here is calibrating the level of investment return you need against the level of risk you should take on to achieve that return. Sorry to throw it, there's a lot of jargon there. Bottom line, we like them. And yes, you want to keep putting money into the market because like I said, it's like going to J. Crew when everything's on sale. So every dollar you put to work now buys you more.
So then I think so the answer to the second part of that question, if you have money still coming in, continue to put that into your account.
Yeah, if you guys want to nerd out later, it's a concept called dollar cost averaging. And if you just Google dollar cost averaging and you go to like Investopedia maybe, you'll read a little bit about why that works. But basically, when the market is expensive, like it was a couple months ago, every dollar you put to work bought less, right? And now markets are super, super cheap. So every dollar you put to work buys more. So over the long run, the cost of everything you've bought is lower on average. If you dollar cost average, if you continually put money to work in ups and downs.
All right, now people are feeling real saucy and they're throwing those questions in there. Okay, let's go. So, and then we'll get back because I do have my own questions when obviously that's what this is about. Okay, is it good to utilize the mortgage pause offers due to COVID-19 to pay off credit obligations and get debt-free while your mortgage is on hold?
Great question. So this is assuming that your credit obligations are at a higher interest rate. Then mathematically, it would make more sense to do that. So if you have money still coming in, it will provide more value for you if you use it to pay off your credit obligation than your actual mortgage obligation. Because typically mortgages are at lower interest rates.
Fascinating.
So that doesn't apply, I guess, to just tie that loose end up. It doesn't apply if you're using like a teaser rate card. If you have a teaser rate card and you've racked up some debt on it, you may want to have a different plan for that.
Right. Gotcha. So look at the moral of the story, look at your interest rate and make sure that it lines up appropriately. Got it. Okay. What's the best advice for getting through existing debt? This person, who is this? This is Emily, is going through debt-free baby steps with her fiance for a few months, using a credit card for everyday payments, like you said. Shocking that it is a turn of perspective.
I didn't quite understand the question.
I think the question is advice for getting through existing debt.
Advice for getting through existing debt. So, obviously having a plan, which it sounds like you guys are taking baby steps, presumably that means that you've organized your debt, you've looked at the different minimum payments, you've looked at the interest rates, and you've come up with a payment payoff plan. The two most common payoff plans are the avalanche method and the snowball method, one that attacks your high interest rate debt first, and the other that tackles your minimum payment, or rather your smallest balance first. So I think it sounds like you're doing the right thing. You've come up with a plan and you're attacking it. The only other thing I would say possibly is calling the provider and seeing if, in light of current circumstances, they're willing to negotiate terms with you. A lot of times it's better to just go straight to the lender than it is to try to use one of those loan consolidation programs, and automate it. Automate it so that you don't fuck with it.
Okay, so just another anecdotal piece of advice that I experienced yesterday. If you are going to call your bank, just know that wait times may be longer than expected right now. I had some fraudulent charges on my business line of credit. Someone bought $140 worth of pizza in Texas, and I was on the phone on hold for 45 minutes yesterday to try to cancel my card. And then I felt bad and I like still wanted to pay for the pizza because like small business, but my husband's like, do not pay for that pizza. And I was like, okay. Clearly, you know how our money relationship works now. Okay. All right. Couple more questions. What is the best online savings accounts that you would recommend?
Oh man, normally that's a very easy question. But right now that is a very difficult question because rates are just getting cut. But in general, the online accounts that tend to increase their rates in lockstep with the Fed right now are Amex, Barclays, Ally, and Amex, Barclays, Ally, and Marcus, Goldman Sachs. Those are the ones that we really, really like. A lot of times if you're using a lot of times people are very tied to their credit union, like if USAA, and we love USAA for like general savings, general checking account, no problem with that. They're really good with financing, really good with like insurance type offering services. But for savings accounts, they're usually not great credit unions. So if you're using a credit union and you're super, super tied to it, that's not going to be the place where your money's working as hard for you as it could.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go back to my little list of questions because I want people to understand a little bit more about you and how you work at Stash. So you operate very differently from the big players, the Wall Street type of investment. Can you share a little bit about what's different in your approach at Stash and how you're helping your clients in a way that the big guys just won't?
Yeah. This is important for people, I guess, who are looking for that level of hand-holding, because the difference between the robo-advisors I spoke about earlier, Ellevest, Betterment, Wealthfront, Personal Capital, they're all great, but they sit on one end of the spectrum, and then on the other end of the spectrum are those traditional firms, Wall Street, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, Vanguard, even if you're a private client with Chase. Typically, the level of service they're offering is very, very poor. They don't really want to talk to you unless you have $1 million. And even if you have $1 million, they treat you like a D-list client. So they'll take your money, they'll throw it into a bunch of investments, but then you'll never hear from them ever again. And the demographic that we work with at Stash Wealth are these young professionals who are making good money and they want to be taken seriously. They want to be treated like $1 million client. So at Stash, we always say we treat our clients like millionaires before they're millionaires. That's really ultimately the big, big difference. We're not a call center. So robo-advisors are super, super awesome technology, but they're a call center. Someone doesn't really know your intimate situation. And then you have the big broker-dealers who won't care to learn your situation unless you have millions and millions of dollars with them. So Stash Wealth really bridges that gap of service. So what we do, is that what you want me to get into, or is that not?
Yeah, do it.
So the first step that our client takes at Stash is this service that we offer called the Stash Plan. And basically you're paired up with a dedicated financial planner, and that financial planner overhauls your entire financial life over 5 to 6 weeks. They answer all the questions you ask, questions you don't even know to ask. So it could be everything from, is my 401k set up correctly? Is my asset allocation correct asset allocation? Or am I using the right credit card? I'm a freelancer. I don't have a 401k. What should I use instead? How should I be hacking taxes? How do I avoid an insurance salesperson who's trying to sell me some whole life thing? I don't even know if I need that. If they're trying to sell you whole life, don't buy it. Oh gosh.
I have one.
Whole
I
life?
didn't buy it though. My grandpa bought it for me.
Okay, different situation.
80s, different scenario.
Very different scenario. And things like estate planning. So maybe like you are starting a family and you need to like name guardians for your children and just things like that. So we basically cover all the decisions you need to make and build you a custom roadmap so that you're on track for your short, mid, long-term financial goals. That's what we do. It's called the Stash Plan. And I can talk about, do you want me to talk about the new offering?
Do it.
So it was actually interesting because it ties back to RebelleCon. When I spoke at RebelleCon, it was 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had Shannon put me on the spot essentially, and in front of the live audience, promised a new service that would address people who weren't quite hitting Henry status yet, but were on their way, these so-called future Henrys. So about 2 years ago, we announced that we would be creating an offering for them at RebelleCon. And then as of January of this year, we actually launched that offering. It's called Money Mastered, and it's basically an online masterclass. It's a masterclass to get smarter with your money. It's all the stuff you should have learned in school to get smarter with your personal finances that they don't teach. So if you're not quite ready for the stash plan, Money Mastered might be an appropriate way for you to get your financial shit together. We even have a quiz on the website called Am I a Henry? And it takes about 2 minutes. You go through it and it tells you whether you're ready for the stash plan or whether you're ready for Money Mastered. And we're going to be offering a promo code for everyone on the call today.
Yeah, it's funny because Holly just commented, and this is like a perfect segue. She said, I can't imagine ever being a young professional who's making good money. Soon I won't be a young professional and still not making good money. And I feel like, Holly, you and me are the same. However, it's amazing. I don't make good money. I haven't made good money for a really long time, but my credit score is freaking almost 800. Like, so I think there is a lot to be said that, like, even if you don't make a lot of money, there's still, once you know more about where your money is and like know these little hack tricks, like it's incredible what opportunities become. Yeah, see, you also have an excellent credit score, Holly. We can be in the club together.
If you're looking to find a way to monitor your credit score, one of our favorite apps is a free app called Credit Wise, WISE. It's through Capital One. You don't have to be a Capital One customer. It's a free app and it's awesome, an awesome way to track your credit score.
Good job, Capital One. There may be some Capital One employees on this call, so kudos to them. And Capital One Saver Card is the cashback credit card that I currently have $230 on. So if they would like to sponsor the next money conversation, I'll just put that out there because we are genuinely recommending their products and services. Okay, so yeah, I was super excited to see the Money Mastered course, and not surprising, it's beautifully done, like so top notch, which is what I come to expect from you, Priya. So I'm really excited about that because I do find whenever we do have these discussions, people freaking love them. Like people love learning about their personal finance, but we just didn't learn that when we were in school or from our parent. I mean, my parents should probably also do Money Mastered because they all know what they're doing.
Also, you can gift Money Mastered. So if you know someone who is a hot money mess, you can.
Don't tell my mother that I said that. Okay, so let's dive into these two camps because I am sure people have questions about what they should be doing. So I think let's start with the small business owner, right? The person that their income has either stopped or slowed significantly. What are the things that they should be either doing or not doing in like the next couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you have to do is obviously evaluate your business operating costs, which is really, really difficult to do. It's scary and it feels like failure, but it's not. It's simply just being a business owner. I talked to a business owner here locally the other day. She had to fire 80 employees temporarily. That's how she positioned it. And all 15 of her senior leadership are taking a 25% pay cut. She's taking a 100% pay cut. And that's a survival, just implementation of survival. Like it doesn't mean they're failing. They're going to certainly come out of this, but this is what they have to do to be able to come out of this. So I would say evaluating your costs is very, very important. I'm guessing we should probably talk a little bit about the loan offering through the new stimulus package. So we can talk about unemployment too. I think that's equally important. The government with this new stimulus package has sort of expanded the definition of how you qualify or who qualifies as quote unquote unemployed and extended it to sole proprietors and independent contractors, even adding an additional $600 that they're tacking on weekly to your unemployment check. So if you are a small business owner and maybe a sole proprietor or freelancer, you might actually qualify for unemployment. And unfortunately, it's hard for me to give blanket advice here because it is state by state. So going onto your state's website to figure out if you qualify for unemployment just know that the rules, if you didn't in the past, the rules have changed.
Awesome.
Um, and then for the loan, essentially what they're doing is they're qualifying businesses are small businesses. So this is essentially an expansion of SBA loans, specifically it's the 7A loan, and they're what they're offering is 2.5 times payroll. The payroll, it's really, they say 2.5 times payroll, but the way I've read and understood it, it's actually payroll includes everything from like your mortgage or rather lease payment, rent, if you're, or even if you're out of like a WeWork, utility, healthcare costs. So you would take that amount that you pay on a monthly basis and multiply it by 2.5, and that's the max benefit you can get, up to $10 million. If anyone on the call
Yeah,
qualifies.
that's not me.
Just,
But glad to know. Glad to know.
oh my gosh. But what's really cool about this loan is that if you follow certain rules, it transforms itself into a grant, meaning you don't have to pay it back. It can be fully forgivable. And the way I'm understanding it, like I said, new information is coming out every single day, is it's pretty easy to qualify for it to be forgivable. You basically can't lay off. As long as you don't lay off or you rehire anyone you've laid off, starting at Feb 15th of this year onward, that's one of the main stipulations from what I'm understanding. So that's pretty good. Also, it doesn't apply to, if you have any employees on your payroll that make more than $100,000, if anyone out there does have that, you're capped at a payroll max of 100,000. So I don't know if I should get into more detail on that. Okay.
I think it's okay. I think even just knowing that that is a loan that can become a grant is new information for me, and not something that I understood about that program. So that's super helpful. If anyone has other questions about that specifically, please pop them in the chat and we can go back to that place.
And then of course,
so that was somebody posted, Elizabeth. What if you don't have any employees, was Judy's question.
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually still applies. You can still apply for it.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Judy, for me personally, I don't have any other full-time employees other than myself, but I do pay myself through payroll and pay payroll taxes. So I am considered an employee and I can furlough myself. So that's an option too. Okay, and Elizabeth said, is there any scenario where there would be a downside to getting this loan? Everyone keeps telling me it's free money, but given the forgiveness, would it be better to tough it out?
A downside. I'm stumped. I honestly can't think of it.
Like the time to, the only thing you could potentially lose is your time to complete all the paperwork and get all the stuff together.
Sure.
And make sure that you can meet the requirements for it to become forgivable. Otherwise, it is a loan and you will have to pay interest.
Yeah, but the interest is capped. So it's actually a cheap loan. If it is a loan to you, it ends up being a very cheap loan, because for most businesses, business loans are super, super expensive, and they're capping the interest rate on this one around 4%. So lenders that offer SBA loans can negotiate the interest rate, but they can't exceed 4%. So even if it is, I know a lot of small business owners who use their credit card and actually pay that level of interest. So I mean, it's insanely cheap money.
Is there an easy place to find this link to apply?
Yeah, Shannon, after the call, I'll send you some resources that you can share.
Cool, we'll do. And just so, where am I going to share? I'm going to share this in the Rebelle community Facebook group, Rebelle Conversations. So if you're not in that group, go join that group so that you get all these links. Awesome. Okay. I mean, that's super helpful. I'm going to definitely look into that for myself too. So thanks.
Yeah, all right.
Let's talk to the other camp, the people that still have income coming in. They want to be doing the smart thing with it and also kind of the socially responsible thing with it. I think that's definitely been on the radar of all of the people on the Rebelle team. We've definitely been talking about this a lot lately. How do we support our friends that are laid off during this time? How are we saving the small businesses that we care about? Like, what are the other things that we should be thinking about right now?
So I've seen a lot of initiatives on a community level. I'm actually located in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. We recently opened up an office here. And one of the really cool things that they launched down here locally was a way to Venmo servers and hospitality staff who might be temporarily not working. So there are some really cool things like that. I know a lot of people have been sending meals to hospitals. Someone down here recently ordered 100 pizza pies and sent it to, people who are taking care of.
I think they put it on my credit card, unfortunately.
I know, that's why when you said that, I was like, interesting. But all the healthcare workers out there, sending them dinner at the hospital, if you have that bandwidth, I think that's a lovely thing to do. And then of course, local religious groups, check in with them and find out what they're trying to do to help. But because I just think the biggest impact right now is local. You know what's happening locally with your community. So starting there is, I think, the most important. And obviously focusing on the ones that were hit the hardest first. So think of restaurants, hotels, anything in the hospitality industry right now is really, really hurting, in addition to hospitals.
Yeah. Not Amazon. That's my own personal thing. You don't have to respond to that. So when talking about people that are still right now making their regular paycheck, should they be putting more in their 401k? I know we kind of talked about this before, or should they just be letting all those automations that they already set up happen as usual?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Shannon. Do not touch them. If you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where your income is stabilized and it hasn't been impacted, don't do anything. I think it's really hard because this is unprecedented in terms of our lifetime, seeing what's happening, on a global scale. But when you look back historically at world wars and Pearl Harbor, Cuban Missile Crisis, 9/11, Y2K, all the things that have happened that have really shook the global economy. When you zoom out and look at those things from on a larger timeline, you'll see that, and this doesn't. I don't mean to make this sound insensitive, but they are blips on the radar, which obviously they are not blips as we're living through them, but for in context of your wealth accumulation, the number one thing you can do is nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, assuming you're doing something, keep doing what you're doing, and ride through the fear, ride through the panic. Don't react too quickly. Yeah.
I think that's really good advice. Like I said, we have a lot of action takers in this group. So people that want to make moves and send spreadsheets around. And I think it's helpful to have that validation that the thing we should be doing is not doing when it comes to making big decisions.
Yeah, and just tangential to that are the people who are having to tap into their emergency fund right now. So assuming that you have stashed away a bit of a runway and you are actually making your way through that, the whole point of your emergency fund is, as we say it, is remember it's your first line of defense. So obviously we're in a time where certainly you may need to access that first line of defense. The point is, as you're working your way through that cash, is the time for you to methodically work your way out of your money. It's the time to methodically work your money out of other areas that you may have it tied up, for example, investments. So rather than just selling your investments, if you think you're going to need more than the runway that you've given yourself, take the time now to methodically move money out of the markets. That's the idea behind the emergency fund. Hopefully you don't need to, you won't need more money than what your emergency fund has offered, including the fact that the government is about to send us $1,200. We can talk about that real quick. So the stimulus package also it's offering any individual that earns under 75,000, or at least in 2019, as if your adjusted gross income on your tax return, you're going to be sent in the next couple of weeks $1,200 per adult earning 75,000 or less, and $500 for every minor. So that cash is coming in. That's going to be a bit of additional runway. Evaluate business expenses, evaluate personal expenses, turn off all the non-essentials. If you're tapping your cash, then turn off all your non-essentials. Maybe just keep, like, I don't know, your Netflix account, so you have one thing to do.
I feel like that might be essential at this point.
That's what I'm saying. I think now.
Yeah. Maybe if you have like all of them, if you have like Hulu and
Right.
Prime and Netflix and Disney Plus, like you could maybe whittle down, but I don't know. I have children at home, so definitely Disney Plus is absolutely essential for me. Like not a negotiable.
Yeah, not laughing at that. That's 100% true. That might even be the way you're able to accomplish
either that or people are going to be in pain. So awesome. Well, does anybody have any last questions for Priya? I think we are going to let her go here in a minute. All right, let's see. Patrice. My income transitioned when I went from full-time employee to independent contractor in 2019. I haven't yet filed 2019 taxes. Are you aware if the stipend committee will have a way to evaluate 2019 in more real time?
Yeah, so if you haven't yet filed 2019, they are going to look at 2018. So assuming that your 2018 return, the IRS is going to use, if they don't see that you have a 2019 file, they're going to use 2018. Oh, and that brings up another point. If your income has suffered in 2020, obviously we can't tell yet. You haven't earned 2020 yet, and we haven't filed a return. What's going to happen, more than likely what's going to happen is when you go to file in 2021 for 2020, as long as your AGI was under 75,000, you'll get the $1,200 as a tax credit. So if in 2018 you made over 75, if in 2019 you made over 75, but if in 2020 you made less than 75, you'll get that as a tax credit in 2021. But so for Patrice, 2018, more than likely, if your AGI was under 75,000, you'll still be getting the tax credit. It's very generous. The rules are very generous.
Patrice is shaking her head no. Sorry, Patrice. You made too much money in 2018. It's his life. Lucky for me, I haven't made money for a really long time. So
adding one other fact, it phases out above. So it's not like over 75,000 you don't get anything. Over 75,000 it phases out. So you truly don't get anything if you've made over 99,000. It's something like they reduce it by $5 per additional $100 that you made over 75,000, phased out above 99,000, or 198,000 for a household. Yeah.
Got it.
And then for the 75,000, it would be 150,000. Just double it.
Wow. So much going on. It's always so much going on. This is like double trouble. All right. Any other questions for Priya before we let her go? Okay. I did want to do one more plug. Obviously, Money Mastered, we're going to share that link as well as the other resources that we have for you from Priya. I'm super excited about it. I was excited about it before this happened. Now I'm double excited about it. And also, Priya, you are probably one of the few companies right now that are hiring for positions down in Charlotte, correct?
Yeah, we are. We're actively hiring 2 open roles at this time. We're hiring financial planners that have at least 3 years of financial planning experience. Doesn't need to be client facing, but the role does exist here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you know anyone in Charlotte who is in the financial services industry, we're hiring financial planners. We're also hiring right now a marketing manager / director of marketing. Let's be honest, when you're a small business, as you know, you have to be the one to do all the strategic stuff and get your hands dirty. So if you know just an awesome
marketing
person who also is really good at content marketing, digital marketing, all the marketing things, we're hiring for that role and ASAP. And that role also lives here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Awesome. I mean, we have people from all over, and our network knows people from all over. So we'll definitely spread the word. And if you have anyone that's interested, I'll show you how to get in touch with Priya. But you can always visit her website, stashwealth.com. It is a fantastic website, I will say. And again, Priya, seriously, thank you so much. This has been super helpful for me personally. I don't really know what's happening with other people, but from the looks on their faces, everyone's still here and into it. So it looks like they've enjoyed it as well.
Good. Do you want me to get the promo code?
Yeah. Do you want to just give it to us now?
Yeah, I'll give it to you, and then you can also put it into the resources. But
Yep.
we're all actually extending it based on, I expanded the code based on our conversation, Shannon, and we're applying it to every single service we offer.
Awesome.
So not just Money Mastered, but the Stash Plan for individuals and the Stash Plan for couples. And both the Stash Plan for individuals or for couples works if you're an entrepreneur as well. So if you have unpredictable income, the Stash Plan still is a very, very good option for you. The code is the same for all three services. It's WFH, so work from home, and then hustle, WFHHUSTLE, work from home hustle, and it's $100 off. So the Money Mastered course, which is normally $247, it's down to $147 if you want to get that now, which is a pretty good deal. And then obviously Stash Plan, you can find pricing for all of our services right on our website. We're a millennial brand, very, very transparent with fees. Everything's right on the website.
Brinkley says, when does the coupon code expire?
That's a great question. So all our coupon codes expire 90 days from issuance. So 3 months from today.
Do it. I mean, this is a good time to like dive into a course like that.
Yeah, if you have some extra time on your hands, now might be to level up your financial know-how.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you guys all for being here. We will see you maybe tomorrow. We've got something every week. So take care.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, thank you. Bye, y'all. Bye. Amy, are you staying or are you leaving? Oh, she's gone.